Good morning and a warm welcome. Today we have the Youth Women's 3x6 kilometer relay competition here at the Swedish National Biathlon Arena. Only 3 competitors will contend head-to-head from each nation, and they will be wearing the bib that corresponds with the results from last year. And as we have seen over the last couple of days, the rain has been falling, but overnight we have been blessed with some more snowy conditions, and that's going to give us a little bit of a winter feel as opposed to yesterday's threatening spring, as Elsa Tanglander of Sweden now getting her rifle set. She goes off for Team Sweden and will be going off with bib number 6. Rina Sol there of USA. Luisa Schrempf of Austria. The Austrians wearing bib number 9, having come across the line last year in 9th position. Melina Gaup of Germany, now one of the favorites, that is for sure. 5th last year, but for sure capable of turning that around. The Slovakians, a little bit further down the order, unlike wearing bib number 2, the Italians are one of the favorites for this race in accordance with their past record. But if you take a look at some of the results they've had this season or this championship so far, it looks a little bit less than likely that they are able to replicate last year's success. And that is, however, not taking into account the effect of expectations, and everyone has their eyes turned to Team France, Germany and Norway, and perhaps Plechikova here of Czechia, knowing full well their capability to be on the podium and contend for the top spot. With those expectations comes nerves, comes the challenge of maintaining one's routine in spite of those changing psychological dynamics. And that's what biathlon is all about, the ability to maintain a process that works despite changing psychological dynamics. And we'll talk more about that as this race progresses. But that's what these biathletes now are going to be trying to contend with. They know that this is a big moment, and it's the last youth race of this championships as the support staff make their way out onto the course. Pilarin Vilipu there for Estonia. The Estonians last year racing in front of their home nation, Plechikova there of Czechia. And then Josie Clifford there of Great Britain. Standing still, taking in the moment. And the variety of different activities that these biathletes get up to in the warm-up pen as they prepare for what is essentially a physical battle head-to-head with their components for today's Youth Women 3x6 kilometer relay. Let's take a look at the course with a total elevation of 363 meters. Each leg will go around this course 3 times. It's a 2 kilometer loop, and we've seen them go around this course a couple times before at this championships, the individual being the first of those occasions. And to remind you there, in the individual, Plechikova, despite 3 misses, she crossed the line in first place. The temperature 0 degrees. That means we could expect the snow to withstand a little bit of battering, but it certainly won't withstand battering the whole day. We can expect a little bit of degradation from the snow. The march to the start line. And quite unconventionally, to some extent, having to walk out across where other biathletes need to get their skis on and ski. But let's take a look now at the starting order. This order is what we saw last year, with Norway taking the gold in Otapa, Italy in second, Czechia in third, France wearing fourth, somewhat surprisingly, with Germany in fifth, Sweden in sixth, Slovakia in seventh. Sweden, one of those nations that's had a little bit of undulation in terms of their results over the years, finishing in sixth last year, but 16th the year before. Winning the year before that, 10th the year before that. It seems to be very up and down. For Great Britain, Clifford Cadell, two Brits and two sisters side by side. Hungary, they're wearing bib number 24, as Greenland is our last starter of the day. Bulgaria, another team to watch. They might take us by surprise, and United States also have the potential to do something very much worth paying attention to. We'll keep you up to date with their progress. And take a look at the winter scenes, something that has been in short order over the past couple of days, with rainfall, with high winds, and with a lot of unpredictability. Finland with Emma Lang taking bib number 1, leg 1. 11 with the Ukraine, Shevchenko. And in the mixed relay, she came 6th place alongside her teammate Puchko. But Lena Baumann, has she had a journey? She certainly has. It's been a tricky one for the Swiss biathlete. Just off the podium in 3 different occasions. And now Slovakia wearing bib number 7 as we go to 6, where Lidström is going to take out leg number 1, but first to Pilarin Vilepu of Estonia, wearing bib number 8. And now wearing bib number 9, Austria, a team that is absolutely capable of getting on the podium today. Keep your eye out for the Austrians. In front of their home crowd, the Swedes wearing bib number 6, and Germany with Gaup taking leg number 1. France, Dussera taking bib number 1, and Richaud, the winner of yesterday's Mass Start 60, she'll go last leg. So Team France, very much one of the favourites today, if not the favourite, with Czechia being very much up there, but Norway, as we unconventionally go 4-1 there, my apologies for not tracking that. Norway as again one of our favourites, and Mariotti Cavinet of Italy, she will be going off number 1 for Italy following their success last year. And Krizova, the slowest result for the Czechians yesterday, and that was finishing in 35th place with 5 mistakes, so not skiing on her usual form. But now the starting pistol is raised to the sky. They are now off. The youth women's 3 times 2 kilometer relay competition is now underway, and a sight far less chaotic to behold than yesterday's Mass Start 60 event, where so many biathletes got underway all at the same time. Now only 25 starters. I say only, it's a significant number, with teams such as Greenland, Hungary, Belgium, Moldova, Spain, Great Britain, United States pulling up the back end of this field, as we see now with Czechia, Krizova taking the early pace up at the front. This hill, we saw it becoming ever more cut up over the past days, and with each lap it becoming more so. That's with the temperature being above 0 degrees today. It's been around about 0 and freezing overnight, hence the snow that's fallen all around. But now taking the initiative up at the front, Gaup of Germany, one of the fastest skiers in this event so far. That's having the 5th fastest course time in the individual, the 6th fastest in the sprint. And then yesterday, the 6th fastest in the mass start 60. So among these starters here, she's one of the fastest, if not the fastest. And you can see what happens up at the back of the field as Josie Clifford takes a right-hand side line and she tries to get around the Moldovan, Hlusevici. Knowing the importance of staying on the heels of the leader in front of you to maximize the recovery down this hill. This hill off camera will take a swinging right, and that's just before they get to this Volkswagen banner over the track, as Gaup is already deciding that she wants to make this first lap a challenge for her competitors, and I do not blame her. Krizova, the least strong of the Czechian trio, losing 4 seconds to the German Mariotti Cavanet. The same can also be said for her. 20th place yesterday for the Italian. And Lidström of Sweden down in 12th place, already losing 13.1 seconds. But the shooting range here in Östersund is one of the hardest in the world, or it can be. We've seen so many plot twists at very surprising moments from the shooting range being unpredictable. So Gaup now has not just the conditions on the range to contend with, but she also has the fact that she is absolutely flying on this first lap. She came 4th yesterday in the mass start 60 with 3 penalties. Extraordinarily good shooting despite ridiculously strong winds, and you can see the wind there rippling in the French flag next to the Auto Experten sponsor banner. As we cut back to Desseret of France, who was actually leading in yesterday's race till shoot 2. She came in, she exited shoot 2, I should say, in 1st place. She came into shoot 3 in 1st place with a 1.6 lead over Mika Solova of Czechia. And then she came out of shoot 3 all the way down in 23rd position. Now I wonder if the French ladies' strategy today is to take it conservatively on lap 1. There's no need to battle it out on the track when she can conserve her energy and focus on hitting the targets. Well, Gaup, she certainly is not taking that strategy. She entered the range in 4th position coming into shoot 3 yesterday in the mass start 60. And then she exited in 2nd place, only missing 1 target. And it really was a hurricane wind on that occasion, with Mariotti Cavanet of Italy doing well, 8.5 seconds behind the German, with Tirschmann of Canada doing fantastically well. She's got herself up into 3rd place. Shevchenko of Ukraine down in 5th. And the Swedes really struggling with this early pace set by the German. And now we take a look at this swinging left-hander, which precedes the tuck and flat. As we come back down towards the range, the long flat that doesn't afford a recovery because it quite often requires that the biathletes maintain their speed, but usually with a right to left wind from the perspective of the range means that they have the wind at their tail and can make the best use of that fact here. But let's take a look at the start advantage that Gaup has achieved as a result of skiing so quickly. 8.5 seconds at the 1.5 kilometer mark as she came before the range, but now has only stretched that to 8.9. So Mariotti Cavanet of Italy not losing much time. Gaup going on to the lane that corresponds with her bib number as she takes 3 clicks left, indicating that the wind has actually dropped off somewhat since her 0. So far, so good for the German. She misses the second and third, however, and if you look at the wind flags, the conditions have changed. Each biathlete, of course, having 3 extra rounds with which they can try and get missed targets, as Gaup now is threatening to be on the penalty loop if she doesn't get the targets down, as Tronrud of Norway gets 4 out of 5, missing the last shot. But there we go with the first spare for Norway. Tronrud goes clear. Mariotti Cavanet of Italy doesn't need any spares, gets all 5 targets down. Poland, the same can be said for them. 5 targets go down. Canada only requiring 1 spare. Sweden, now they get all 5 down without any use of spares. The same is true of France, but Germany, the worst has happened. Gaup, despite that early lead, is on the penalty loop. Slovakia, they go 5 for 5. USA, 1 spare required, they go 5. And Bulgaria, using 2 spares, have managed to get the targets down. Now, Mariotti Cavanet of Italy doesn't use any spares, setting the time of 7 minutes 12 as she exits the shooting range, with Tronrud just 0.4 seconds behind. Shevchenko of Ukraine using 2 spare rounds, 11.7 seconds down, and we look down now, think of Belgium just falling in behind Gaup of Germany, and Villepoux of Estonia just behind her. So Gaup, she took a gamble, and she's had some pretty fantastic results at this championship so far, which perhaps inspired her early ambition to hurt the field. But of course that could have had the effect of just hurting her. So, Tronrud of Norway, the 15th fastest course time in the individual, and not making the top 50 in terms of ski speed in the sprint. The Norwegian has relied on good shooting today, just as has the Italian. Lidström of Sweden doing well to stay off the penalty loop, as Gaup is now trying to claw back those precious seconds. We did see, unfortunately, from Sweden, in front of their home crowd, they had quite a lot of penalties. In fact, 8 in total, a number which they regrettably had to do in front of their own audience. And that was from all but Nordlander, who had to go around the penalty loop. And Lidström, however, was not in that mixed relay, and so is not accountable for any of those penalty loops. So a cool head on leg 1. Mariotti Cavanet of Italy having a fantastic day so far, and with a 6th place in the sprint, hitting the perfect 10. She's a good choice to go leg 1 here for the Italians, setting a time of 9:51. Tronrud not losing any time, or essentially not losing any time, just still on the heels of the Italian, with Tierschmann doing fantastically well for Canada with 7 seconds deficit, that coming from 16 to 7, meaning that Tierschmann of Canada really is skiing well. Ganner of Austria, 1 spare used, but falling behind Gaup of Germany, who went all the way around that penalty loop and has got herself still with only 27 seconds down off the lead. As we go further down the order now, Adzamova of Bulgaria ahead of Villepoux of Estonia, and Clifford just following there. In fact, Clifford deciding it's time to make a move and get past the Estonian, seizing this opportunity with good form. And now, as we cut to the front, it seems like Tronrud is deciding to take the lead, now working together to some extent with Mariotti Cavanet of Italy. And just behind, we're seeing now Tierschmann really working very, very hard to close down the gap. We have seen from Canada, and Tierschmann specifically, only using one dipper in both, one spare round I should say, in both the prone and the stand in her mixed relay, contributing fantastically well to their overall 4th place. The Canadians are one to watch today, but Tierschmann needs to be sensible, not to let the adrenaline of this moment and her fantastic form thus far to hinder her strategy or her discipline on the shooting range. Mariotti Cavanet, having taken the lead again, playing leapfrog with Tronrud of Norway. And Tierschmann very much comfortably now behind them as Liska of Poland is on the pursuit. And Shevchenko of Ukraine likewise, now followed by Gaup, who is trying to undo that early error, and undoing those errors is very much possible. We saw the Germans in the youth mixed relay. They got the silver medal despite 3 penalty loops. So no team is a write-off, no matter how many penalty loops they get in the early stages. I say no matter how many, but that is, of course, with exception to too significant a number. 3 is tolerable, 4 is risky, but the French did it, a silver with 4 in the juniors. So now we take a look at the front, where Tierschmann has decided to take the initiative as we go along the back stretch behind the shooting range. We're about to now filter in. At the 3.5 kilometer, Italy, followed by Norway, followed by Canada, which has now changed as Canada is the first into the shooting range. Tierschmann requiring 1 spare round to get all 5 targets down in the prone, is now going to be confronted by what appears to be pretty steady wind conditions. The 3 leaders onto the mat simultaneously with no wind to contend with, but the psychological internal warfare very much at play. Italy first to miss, Norway and Canada both go 2 for 2 as Poland gets their first shot down. Tierschmann of Canada missing the 4th shot, but getting the 5th. That's 1 apiece for Italy and Canada, both now loading a spare as Norway missed 2. Shevchenko now with 1 mistake, but Poland only requiring 1 spare. Liska is now going to take the lead as Italy follow. And a fantastic result there from Liska, getting 5 from 6 shots. Is now taking the lead with a 4.3 second advantage over Mariotti Cavanet of Italy, followed very closely by Shevchenko of Ukraine, as Germany, they go clear with 1 spare round used. Tierschmann now trying to get out ahead of Norway as France required 2 spare rounds on the shooting range. Gaup, she'll be relieved not to have had to go around that penalty loop again, and now comes out in 6th place, 22 seconds back. Upon entering the range, she was 22 seconds back. Nothing changed there for the German. Sweden now 2 spare rounds remaining to get 1 target. She gets it with the first, as Great Britain with Josie Clifford going 5 for 5 without the use of any spare rounds. As Vilepu of Estonia manages also to get all the targets down, as well as Bulgaria now. Let's take a look at the order as we exit shoot number 2. Liska of Poland has managed to come out in first. Josie Clifford there, 14 position, 1 minute and 14 seconds back, is now on a ski battle for Great Britain. Lidström of Sweden in 12th, not doing as well as she might have liked, despite only using 2 spare rounds. The Swede struggling with her ski speed. Gaup, far less could be said for her. She goes absolutely charging past Shevchenko of Ukraine on this steepest part of the course. Shevchenko there, her head ducking down with discomfort as she's now passed by yet another. Tronrud of Norway. She decides to skip past the Ukrainian with apparent ease, as Tierschmann of Canada suffers over the top of this hill. She's done a good job, particularly on leg 2, to close down the gap. And now the dynamic has changed at the front, at the sharp end of this field, as Italy are now in the lead, with Mariotti Cavanet coming out in first place. And they started with their strongest skier. Italy will struggle to maintain this position. Liska of Poland doing very well in second place, 3.4 back, losing plenty of time on the skis. But there you go, Gaup of Germany, 17.9 seconds back. She came out of the range with 22 seconds down and has already closed 5 seconds on that time. Tierschmann of Canada, 26 seconds, the deficit for her. And actually has lost time to the leader. And that is actually after having Mariotti Cavanet of Italy. She wasn't the leader out of the chute, so that loss of time is actually worse for Tierschmann than meets the eye. As Dussere, like I said yesterday, one of the leaders of the Mass Start 60, crumbled under incredible wind conditions, and perhaps supplemented by the difficulty of the psychological pressure of being first. Spitalar of Slovakia, followed by Ganner of Austria. They're now pushing over the top. And now she's all by herself. Mariotti Cavanet of Italy. She's in the lead. Liska unable to hold back or resist the speed of the Italian, who's found something special, perhaps inspired by her 6th place in the sprint competition just a couple days ago. She had 37th in the individual. Her teammate Guatero on that occasion skiing among the best, 12th fastest. But the Italians not having Guatero until the end, last leg. But this could not be a better start really for the Italians. And now Liska of Poland in 2nd place as they're heading in towards the exchange number 1. Italy almost certainly to be the first team in the gold medal position thus far, with 3 legs of this relay to unfold. Tronrud of Norway takes 4th, following Gaup of Germany in the bronze medal position. Her 17.9 seconds turning into 18.2 relative to the Italian. And perhaps that penalty loop taking its toll on her legs. It's almost all over. Liska of Poland has suffered on this last leg, but she's done her nation proud to come out with such an advantage. And that is testament to her great shooting, combined with good shooting. But Italy are in first place, wearing bib number 2, handing over there for Mariotti Cavanet to Gia Condolo of Italy to take it out for the Italians in the lead, in the pressure position. Gabriela Gasienica of Poland now taking it leg 2 for the Poles. As we cut to the Germans, as Melina Gaup really redeemed herself, handing over to Wusling, hoping that she is able to do well and stay off that penalty loop. The Germans still very much a favorite, despite one penalty loop. Norway in 5th place, 22 seconds behind the lead. And now Shevchenko of Ukraine hands over, only using 3 spare rounds, and each spare round taking something of 10 seconds to use. Perrin with France now 54 seconds back are still one of the favourites for this race today. Such a deficit at this point in the race matters, but it's not so important. So much can change. Baumann handing over to Winkelried of Switzerland. And Emma Lang of Finland, exhausted, handing over to her teammate Venla Menala, just ahead of Josie Clifford, who does a great job for Great Britain, handing over just 1 minute and 33 seconds behind the lead over to Isla Cadell, who will hand over to her sister Iona Cadell. And Rhea Adzemova to Klenovska. Anna Lidström over to Elsa Tanglander of Sweden. Tanglander having been in the penalty loop for Sweden 4 times on her last relay event. Really suffering from the pressure that comes with not only doing a head-to-head battle, not only competing for your nation, but competing in front of your home crowd at your home stadium, where the expectation is for you to perform, where physical people, not hidden on the other side of a screen, are there physically expressing their discontent with every miss you have, perhaps not maliciously either, but if only just because they don't cheer with joy when you hit the targets. Their absence of a cheer when you miss is a very physical, or has a physical effect on these biathletes. The pressure extreme. So many different psychological components at play. But right now we are bearing witness to a physical, or the physical prowess of the Germans, as Wusling is already closing down the gap on Gondolo of Italy, and has managed to get that down to less than a second. And Gasinica of Poland, 6.4 seconds back, getting caught up now by Ida of Norway, 15.7 seconds down, and Sonka of Canada, 23.9 seconds back. The Canadian, who wasn't amongst the team that got the 4th place in the mixed relay, so a first relay experience for her at this championship so far. Putsko of Ukraine, 6th place. Perrin of France, 7th, closing the gap. And it looks like Italy is beginning with Gondolo to slow down ever so slightly. But is this just going to be a repeat of what came before? We saw Gaup skiing incredibly fast, as we are now seeing Wusling ski very fast. And then we saw Gaup on the penalty loop. So there's a risk that comes with this additional physical exertion. Björk Ida of Norway, she has managed to close the gap on the Polish biathlete Gasienka, and Gasienica, I should say. Gasienica is having had a best result at this championship of 64th. Really does have a lot of pressure now to have been handed over to, having not done a relay and experienced that dynamic at this championship. And in her mind, to be considered the weak leg, even if only implicitly they think that, it's still something that they all are aware of. Where is their position within the hierarchy of their own team? Wusling now charging to the front, having had significant success over the course of this championship, most notably yesterday in the Mass Start 60, fighting against the wind to come across the line in 6th place, therefore being in the flower ceremony. But before that, her best place was 20th in the individual. Now, Ida of Norway has not just taken Gasianica of Poland, but she's opened up a gap between them. Gondolo of Italy deciding that she is not going to try and stay unnaturally with Wusling of Germany. I think that is a very sensible strategy. We know that the Italian knows how to shoot. And on the other hand, we saw Wusling miss 7 targets in the sprint. She only has 6 spare rounds here, so had the sprint, or had she shot as well as the sprint today, she wouldn't have enough spares to hit all the missed targets. Wusling really now taking a risk, skiing this fast, but perhaps that relative speed is what we should be looking at. She's opened up a massive lead over Ida of Norway, one of the best skiers at this event, as we come in to the 3rd shoot of 6 shoots. Wusling has had some trouble on the shooting range before, but now there's not an awful lot of wind on lanes 1 to 6. You can see the wind flag's a bit more energetic further down the lanes. And that's perhaps to the advantage of the German, who gets the first target down. She's taking her time with 2 big, deep breaths between each shot. All 5 targets go down for Wusling of Germany, and this lack of wind really showing, as none of the leading 3 have missed a target so far. Italy are 4 out of 4 and go 5 out of 5, but Ida of Norway, the first to miss on the 3rd visit to the shooting range for each national team. She gets it with the first spare. Björg Ida now very much on the hunt. The 3 leaders shooting very well. And now Poland missing with their first spare, requiring to fill another. Canada, they've missed 3 targets so far. France not beginning their comeback so far with 2 misses. And still 1 target left to go with 2 spares. Poland get 5. And now 1 spare round and 1 target remaining for France. Failing that, the penalty loop is looming. France managed to stay off the loop, but unfortunately less can be said for Canada, who are now going to be not on the loop once but twice. Slovakia are going to join her with 1 penalty loop to their name. Switzerland have 3 spare rounds to get 1 target. They manage. Austria missing 3, and the first 3. Austria having a nightmare so far. No hits, 4 shots fired, with Sweden managing now to undo what was done in the mixed relay, going 5 for 5 without using any spares. But Austria really is the talk of the moment. Great Britain following in a similar vein, missing 3 of their targets. Great Britain now for sure going to be on the penalty loop at least once. But this moment for Wusling was something of a redemption, as she casts her mind back to what happened in the sprint with all those misses, as she takes advantage of the wind being settled, gets all 5 targets down in controlled fashion, putting herself 16 seconds in the lead as she exited from the shooting range after her first visit in prone. Putzko of Ukraine in 4th. Björg Ida in 3rd. 24 seconds the deficit, and Gondolo of Italy 16.3 seconds down on Wüstling of Germany. And now let's take a look at our current silver and bronze medal positions. They go side by side up this hill as Gondolo decides she isn't going to try and compete on the skis against Ida of Norway, who's one of the fastest skiers, 11th fastest in the individual. Just to put that into perspective, but not making the top 15 in the sprint. Putzko of Ukraine, she crosses 44 seconds behind after exiting the range, 35 seconds back, losing 11 seconds over the course of these last kilometers. Ida, she lost 2 seconds on the skis from the range to Wüstling of Germany, who's in great shape. And Wüstling actually wasn't one of the fastest skiers. As Perrine of France, 1 minute and 21 seconds down on the lead. France are continuously losing time. She exited the range at 1:10 back, and Perrine has lost more time. Perrine, perhaps an unusual choice that the French put forward, but the French have had so much success. 4 medals yesterday just in the youth events, and are leading the overall table with Gasianicia of Poland in 6th, Tanglander of Sweden in 7th, 1:43 back, and Winkelried of Switzerland in 8th place, 1:44 back, just ahead of Kaserman of Slovakia. Let's take a look now at what's happening with Sydney Wüstling up at the front of the field. She is clearly skiing with the energy of somebody who's sick of the fact that she's not had a medal so far at this championships. In the sprint, her 65th, and in the individual, her 20th. Ida of Norway, on the other hand, she had a gold medal in the mixed relay, so was part of a team that withstood the mental and psychological pressures of this racing format. As Condolo of Italy, not having used any spares, 38 seconds down. That's after coming out the range 16.3 seconds down, so losing 22.3 seconds, or 22 seconds, just in ski speed alone. Puchko of Ukraine, 55 seconds back, really showing, also losing 20 seconds to Wüstling of Germany, showing how fast the German is taking it on the track right now. And I could draw on many examples where the leader was unable to hold it together despite a significant lead, both in this Youth Junior World Championships and all the way back to 2019 at the World Championships. Mona Brorsen in the pursuit with a significant lead, losing all of it with shaking knees. Now that psychological stress and the physical stress on Wüstling, who skied quickly, now coming in for the 4th of 6 shoots for Germany. She hits the first target, misses the second. Taking 2 deep breaths between each shot. Bjørg of Norway settles in beside her. Something of a distraction. But the German shoots incredibly well, gets 4 out of 5. Loads a spare round to get the last one, and she manages. Is looking very good for Germany on the range and on the skis. Bjørg with quite an unusual stance there. Misses her first shot, but has a spare round with which to get it. Italy now with Gondolo missing her second shot. It's going to require spare rounds to get it. But Norway only requiring one spare round as Björg Ida, she gets the rifle on her back with haste and is going to be now hunting down and trying to prevent the seconds opening up between her and Sydney Wusling of Germany. She comes out 27.6 seconds down as Italy and Ukraine go clear. Ukraine skiing the same speed as the Italian now as they go side by side. The only difference, of course, Ukraine not requiring any spare rounds on that occasion. And Gondolo now going to have to work hard. But let's take a look at Perrine of France, who's missed 3 out of 4 and has missed her last shot. That is devastating for the favourites of this race, or my favourites for this race. France will be going on the penalty loop, and the question is not whether, but how many she might be going around that loop. Sweden, they're threatening a potential loop, cannot afford a single miss. And France so far, damage limitation. And now on the loop twice, failing to get that last shot. Unlike Poland, who go 5 for 5, Sweden need to get the next 2. Switzerland need to get the next 2, but Switzerland are going to be on the penalty loop. Kaserman of Slovakia now coming out the shooting range, 1 minute and 34 seconds behind the leader, Sydney Wusling of Germany. We're going to be handing over to the last leg of this competition. The last leg, of course, for Germany going to be taken out by Lena Siegmund. As now Tanglander of Germany, of Sweden I should say, coming out in 8th place. And here's the moment. Wusling skied her way around this track, far exceeding my expectations on ski speed, and managing to stay focused and only require one spare round. Certainly looking good for Germany. And now hunting them down, Norway in 2nd place. The question is whether she's going to be opening the lead any more. So far, 29.5 seconds back. Björg Ida of Norway having lost 1.8 seconds from the shooting range till this checkpoint. And in 3rd place, Putsko of Ukraine, shooting the perfect 0-0, managing now to open up a gap of 5.1 seconds over Gondolo of Italy. Gondolo struggling on the ski. She has for the duration of this race, but perhaps it was wrong to expect her to be faster. It's a relative speed that looks so pronounced, but actually her ski speed hasn't promised any better from the previous races, relative at least to Wusling of Germany, who has been skiing very well. And Putsko of Ukraine, getting Ukraine back in the mix and back in contention for a medal. Last year at the World Championships in Otapa, the Ukrainians finished in 11th place, hence the number on their bib. They're now fighting for better, and so far, not just better, but for a podium. As we see the final strokes of Wusling putting in a sprint finish up the last climb. It's an aggressive attack as her team are cheering her on track side. Sydney Wusling has done her nation proud, and certainly herself. Now potentially putting her team in with a very good chance of winning the gold medal today. all the pressure now on the shoulders of Lena Siegmund of Germany, who's going to be battling it out against gold medalist Martina Skog of Norway. And now the gap opening to 30.8 seconds. Björg Eide of Norway has lost time to Wusling of Germany. And 30 seconds of time. That's having already seen the Germans go round the penalty loop once. Wusling received the baton on exchange number 1, 19 seconds down, and is about to hand over some 30 seconds in the lead over to her teammate. Now Lena Siegmund, who's going to be experiencing all of the pressure that comes with leading a relay at the Youth World Championships. And now Martina Skog is going to be watching nervously as she is handed over to by Björg Eide in second place, losing yet another second since the last checkpoint to the German. 31 seconds down on the lead. That is more than a penalty loop. And now Puchko of Ukraine, having done wonderfully well till this point. Polina Puchko hands over to Valerina Shihas of Ukraine, with the Italians just a little bit behind, having shot the same on that order as Gattero of Italy now has the responsibility to turn it around to potentially make it a podium. But first they have to depose the Ukrainians, and that is not going to be an easy task. And Kaiserman of Slovenia now putting in a sprint finish, doing well, exceeding expectations, all the way from bib number 13, which was their rank from last year. Now handing over in 5th place, only 1 minute and 40 seconds back, ahead of the likes of Czechia, one of my favorites for today, ahead of France, ahead of Austria. And now Finland handing over in 6th place. Menala there handing over to Koski, and the course time, Menala skiing 52 seconds down on Wusling. Emma Larsson for Sweden now to try and fight for one of those top spots for Sweden. It's going to be a challenge, there's no doubt about it. Sweden now 2 minutes 13 seconds back. It would take something really special now for the Swedes, and even more so for Czechia, and even more so for France, who are much, much, much further down the order. Perrin still not at the exchange, was nearly 3 minutes down on the lead. That's having done 2 penalty loops and skiing a lot slower than the Germans. It looks like Germany is untouchable. It's easy for me to say those words as Lena Siegmund now crosses the 12.8 kilometer mark with 2 shoots remaining of her race. 44 minutes and 45 seconds the time till this point. Those are thoughts that she does not want to be thinking. The dynamic being that it is now her race to lose. Everybody watching will be thinking Germany should run away with this, and it's the word should that is going to be running through the minds of these leading biathletes as Skog is on the hunt, chasing down Siegmund of Germany, but losing precious time, 5.5 seconds to be precise since the exchange. And Skog, after having done fantastically well, Shihas of Ukraine there in 3rd place, and Gatturo of Italy in 4th. As I was saying, Skog having done fantastically well in the sprint competition, winning the gold. In the mixed relay, winning the gold. Individual, she came 8th. And in the mass start 60, she came 7th. One of the overall best at this championship right now is chasing down Siegmund of Germany, who has indeed done well with a silver medal yesterday in the mass start 60. And a silver medal in the mixed relay. She has the experience. She has, on the other hand, fighting for the bronze medal for Ukraine, has expectations on her shoulders, but has struggled to penetrate the top 10. Her best result at this championship being 14th, and that was in the sprint. But 14th is a very, very good result nonetheless, and shouldn't be undermined. Lovely technique there from Germany, passing the Canadians who were doing so well in the early stages of this race. And Siegmund seeming to be, again, following the pattern of German skiers just opening the gap with the skis. That could mean two things. Good ski, three things. Good ski selection, good form, and a good structure, because everyone's got the same wax under their skis, as Lena Siegmund is now over the final hill before she'll come into the first of 2 visits to her shooting range. Skog, arguably the very best biathlete who is now running in this relay competition, meaning she is capable of closing that gap if anybody is. She certainly has already. Siegmund actually failing to open the gap, failing to maintain it, and Skog closing it to 29.5 from 36.6. She has, of Ukraine, 54.4 seconds, not losing any time to the German. So I think Siegmund actually is taking this a little bit conservatively, and perhaps sensibly so, as she comes in for her first visit in the prone shooting. She has a prone to go and then a stand to follow. She's allowed to use 3 spare rounds, and it's all fallen on her shoulders to fight for what could be today a gold medal for Germany. Listen to the breathing and watch the rhythm between each shot. Seven breaths before lining up to take shot 1, which goes down easily. 1 big breath between first and second, and the miss is pretty wide, low. 3 out of 4 go down, and the 5th goes down. So a nightmare averted. So far so good for the German. A good chance of getting this down now. She gets it, and so far so good as Norway land on the map with Skog getting 3 for 3, 4 for 4. She needs this, and she gets it. This is a very good start for Norway in the mission to close down on the Germans. Let's take a look. Entering the shooting range, the gap between Siegmund and Skog was 23.3 seconds. Skog closing down with every single meter time on the German. That is going to unsettle the nerves of the German as Italy missed their first shot, Ukraine missing their first. It's 4 out of 5 for the Italians, for the Ukrainians, with 3 shots remaining. She has, of Ukraine, getting it with their first spare. And the same is true of Italy. Guterro requiring just 1 spare and are going to be coming out together. There's a battle now for the gold medal, as is there a battle for the bronze and silver. Siegmund is going to receive the information that the gap is 23.3 seconds. Information she does not want to hear, because as she was handed over to, that gap was 31 seconds. And it actually became 36.6 as Sigmund really worked hard in the early stages of lap 1. But then it became 29, then it became 23, and now it's only 12 seconds. The Norwegian is closing down the gap. There's nothing more uncomfortable than being chased when you're really hurting and you still have to hold it together on the range. As Slovenia are really showing us what holding it together looks like. That really is fantastic shooting there from Funda of Slovenia, who came in side by side with Sweden, who managed to get that last shot with one extra bullet, extra skott as they call it in Sweden. And now the Poles go on quickly. Finland failing to get their last shot as Funda maintaining their amazing 5th place, 2 minutes and 3 seconds back. Larsson of Sweden. You might find it hard to believe, but it's still very much possible that Germany and Norway could still have a meltdown of sorts. Sigmund, what pressure is she going to deal with? And Lena Sigmund now crossing the line, or the checkpoint, at 14.8 kilometers, just 9.2 seconds ahead of Skog. She has to contend with the expectation that on Germany's shoulders to do well. The team pressure, you're fighting for your nation. Head-to-head component, when you can feel or hear your competitors skiing behind them. But also she now knows it's her race to lose. Rusling of Germany doing so well to create a gap which is closing. And closing from the best skier, Skog of Norway. You don't want to be hunted down by her. As we turn our attention to the battle for bronze. Shihas of Ukraine. Now, we'll take a look at this for shortened angle, and even as we see with the zoom lens punching in, that actually the gap is closing visibly, and it's certainly going to be closing audibly for the German. Sigmund will hear every single pole plant from the Norwegian behind her, and that is an uncomfortable feeling, especially given they are coming in for the very final visit to the shooting range. That equating to the highest of pressures, the highest of stress. Doing it for themselves, doing it for their teammates, doing it for their coaches, for their nation, for the World Championship medals. Really, this is an awful pressure, an awful position for these biathletes to be in. And Skog has done all the work she intended to do to close down the gap, and just there you saw that gap shrink to nothing on the downhill section. An unusual point to lose time, but Sigmund didn't quite work over the top. And you can see the calming hand of her coach telling her to stay calm, telling her to relax. There's no pressure. All the biathletes hearing those words from coaches, there's no pressure, no, far too good. It's like being told, don't be anxious. Well, you can't simply turn off anxiety. Anxiety's there for a reason, and unless you tackle the root cause of that reason, it remains. And the root cause of anxiety for Sigmund now is right behind her. Skog of Norway, Martina Skog, I misnamed her earlier. She is one of the best. She managed to hit 17 of 20 targets when the wind was blowing furiously yesterday. But actually, the wind can sometimes lessen the pressure on the range. When the wind isn't there, the absence of it increases the pressure. Gautero of Italy still in 3rd place, managing to open the gap over Shihas of Ukraine. It's going to be a battle on the range for the Italians and the Ukrainians. Martina Skog deciding she does not need to attempt to get ahead here. She's going to stay behind the German. She doesn't want the German to see her. As they come now in for the final visit to the shooting range, not just for them individually, but as a team. So much rest on the shoulders of these two competitors, both of whom are medalists in the mixed relay event. This is the pressure shoot. And this is fighting for a Youth World Championship gold medal. Germany with a first to hit, matched by a hit from Norway, but 3 targets go down for the Germans, preceded by then a miss for Germany. Norway struggling to get even their second shot off, as Germany go and get the full 5 shots with only 1 spare, but it looks like Skog is struggling now, having to eat into the spares, having had some problem with the rifle. It looks like the gold medal is skiing away from her. And now bending down to pick up that accidentally ejected round. Norway really are under pressure. She needs to get this target down. She doesn't. This is big pressure for the Norwegian, but good news for the German Sigmund, who's already exited past the checkpoint. And now Norway fighting to defend her silver medal as Ukraine go 5 for 5. Shihas managing not to use a single spare and getting in ahead of Skog of Norway. The Italians, they go 5 for 5, and all of a sudden the order has shifted. Skog, one of the favorites for this event, is now in 3rd place, 44 seconds off the lead and 1 second behind the Ukrainian, but she decides she is going to get ahead as Gautero of Italy takes 4th place as she exits the shooting range. And here's your leader, and surely here is your gold medalist. Is it possible that Skog could close down 44 seconds on the track? Well, that surely would be something special. She's already got ahead of the Ukrainian. The Italian with a calming hand there saying, pace yourself. It's a 2-kilometer loop. There's every opportunity later to put in an attack. Shihas of Ukraine is fighting for the bronze, but the bronze is going to certainly go to either Ukraine or Italy, because the ski speed of Martina Skog is just too quick. As Martina Skog is surely fighting for the silver, but she's going to want to at least threaten the gold. Lena Sigmund could fall over, and if Skog didn't put in every single bit of energy, would potentially run the risk of not winning that gold if the opportunity arose. Now, take a look here at your battle for bronze. One of these athletes before you on the screen will not get a medal today. And to me, it looks like Gautero of Italy is skiing a lot more comfortably. That's also having secured better results of late. 9th for Gautero in the Mass Start 60. Lena Sigmund cannot get complacent. Too much can still change. As Martina is being cheered on by the supporting staff on the side of the track. We're about to see whether any of that gap has closed. The gap, of course, being 44 seconds, 10 seconds of which is now gone. And unfortunately, halfway around the track has already passed, and not, unfortunately, for the Italians, who are managing to successfully get ahead of the Ukrainians, who are unable to respond in defense of that bronze medal. Gautero putting in an early attack, or a mid-track attack, now against the Ukrainians, and it is so far a success. And now 35 ahead is what we're being told, or what Sigmund is being told by the coach. 35 seconds is the precise time. And even Martina Skog is going to really struggle to close that down by merit alone. It would take certainly a fall. But there we saw Gautero taking a look behind her. And anybody who takes a look over their shoulder to see what's going on behind is worrying that their legs are going to fail them. She still very much has the potential to close back down on Gautero of Italy, who could easily have gone too soon. The bronze medal is not secure. Now Skog of Norway is chasing down the German. The Germans, after having made a mistake on the penalty loop so far with leg one, Gaup in her prone. As Sigmund now is on the heels of lapping Great Britain. Iona Cadell off in the distance now as Lena Sigmund passes over the final uphill section of this track, or the final one of significance, passing Norway's Martina Skog, who gets to see the gap between them as the slightly less enthusiastic cheering is conducted by the support team, because could it be possible to close down that gap? It's very, very unlikely. And Sigmund doing wonderfully well for the Germans. They finished in 5th last year, as Gautero has solidified her lead over the Ukrainian. And here we can see Germany coming towards the finish line, taking the gold medal at this youth women's 3x6 kilometer relay competition. Sigmund leading the way, with Wüstling having taken leg two, the gold medalist Germany today in this relay, as the trio now embrace, celebrating their victory. Gaup skiing so fantastically well on lap one, despite the penalty loop, claiming the victory. As now Martina Skog crosses the line with a silver medal after last year winning the gold. Ida Bjorg taking out leg two for them, and Tronrud of Norway with leg one. And now Gautero managing to do it on the skis, getting a break away from the Ukrainian, and now embracing her team to surprisingly take the bronze medal. Italy have done wonderfully well. And Ukraine in 4th position. Last year they came in across the line in 11th, and this year have managed to get almost within touching distance of the victory. But today is Germany's day, and Norway with a silver medal. The bronze going to Italy. And as we look further down, Larsson of Sweden is going to take it for the Swedes in 5th position. 2 minutes and 6 seconds back approximately. That will change slightly as she cruises in towards the line, not threatened by any competitors behind her. A good job from Norway, but not good enough, as the formidable Germans outskied, outclassed the Norwegians. And now Emma Larsson of Sweden is coming across the line, applauded by her home crowd, as they did themselves proud today. That is especially after the events of last year, in the mixed relay, where we saw the The Swedes endure so many penalty loops, 8 in total, all of which were done at their home stadium in front of their home crowd. Koski of Finland now coming in toward the finish line. And off in the distance behind her, we can see Poland with Germata. And behind her, Slovenia Funda, who appears to have had a fall or something, because her position has been significantly changed over the course of this last lap. But now for Finland, doing really fantastic. They came 12th last year and now about to cross the line in 6th. That's a position I would not have predicted, especially with the likes of France still not having crossed the line, and another one of my favorites of Czechia still having not crossed the line. France in 9th, and in 11th we have Czechia, but there's Finland crossing the line and Poland just after, as Slovenia come in 8th place. And we still have not seen the French, but here she is. Rochot was yesterday's winner in the Mass Start 60. Did not get to replicate that today, despite expectation, despite on paper being in the strongest team. But she's had a bronze medal, then a silver medal, and then a gold medal, and doesn't have anything to complain about from this championships. And Switzerland now coming in, unthreatened by Mika Shalova of Czechia, who will be next in behind her, some 26 seconds, but a good job. Kafka now having had an 8th place in the mixed relay. She was part of that team, now finishing in 10th. A little bit of a demotion there. And we're now having a look as Czechia come across the line, 4 minutes and 51 seconds back. But it's nice to see as Mika Shalova really pushes all the way to the finish line. It's the last race, and why not put in a full sprint finish? It's good experience, it's good practice. You don't get many opportunities to practice a race condition sprint finish. So if it's not going to harm your future races, why not go all out? It's the little details that can sometimes matter. What does it feel like to put in a sprint finish when you're hurting maximally? As we now turn our attention to Vorkova, who's managed to get ahead of Schrempf, Schrempf now fighting back, trying to get across the finish line ahead, but Austria there coming across the line. And then Slovakia just behind them. Germany are your winners today. Norway are your silver medalists, and Italy are your bronze medalists. A lack of variety and colour of some of those flags there, but a lot of diversity of nations and unexpected results. Austria being among the performers who I expected to see higher. Czechia, they also could have been a winner today, but we're down in 11th. France down in 9th. Were very much my favourites for a win today. But we're going to have a prize-giving ceremony where these biathletes will be crowned and medalled. Do stick around for that, and also for the youth men's 3 times 2.5 kilometre, 3 times 7.5 kilometre relay, as now Kivil of Estonia comes across the line. No sprint finish required, with 7 minutes and 8 seconds behind the leaders. And Georgieva of Bulgaria, she comes across the line behind Estonia. Bulgaria, from the junior perspective, very capable of doing something special. Dimitrova, one of the best biathletes at this championships, as well as Hristova, who have been on the World Cup. Bulgaria really doing well with their development of late, and the same can also be said for Spain, who are now on our screens. Justa Lopez of Spain, actually now with plenty of space as she looks over her shoulder to see that nobody's there. But how impressive it was to see Sigmund handle the pressure so well coming in on that last leg, as we watch Spain now come towards the finish line with Justa Lopez entering into her sprint finish. 8 minutes and 39 seconds back for Spain. And then among the teams who have been on the penalty loop, surprisingly, only one of the top 6 have been on the penalty loop. As we turn our attention to Iona Cadell, who now is about to cross the line after Great Britain going around the penalty loop 4 times. Great Britain having had a really great World Championship so far. Iona Cadell hitting her first 10 out of 10 in the sprint in Otepää last year, Estonia at the Youth Junior World Championships. And Great Britain getting in just a little bit ahead of Canada, who did so fantastically well in the mixed relay. Now Canada coming across the line with not just a position of 18th currently, but an adjusted time. And it's not clear how much of an adjusted time. I suspect actually that's a 2-minute adjusted time. She crossed the line about 30 seconds behind Great Britain, and 2 minutes can mean a couple things, but it's most likely to be because somebody didn't do a penalty loop they should have. And if you miss a penalty loop, that's a 2-minute added onto your time. And Kazakhstan therefore getting in ahead of Canada, and we'll continue to see Canada going down. Now, here is a really interesting dynamic that you should pay attention to. That actually Latvia are still to come across the line, and they're 13 minutes and 13 seconds back. But take a look at the Latvian. Is she working maximally? Well, she should be, because she doesn't know if another team has had a penalty of some sort. So if you choose not to work maximally to the finish line and are beaten by a couple seconds by a team that isn't even within sight, but have finished minutes ahead of you, but received a penalty, you could be missing out on the opportunity of a position. So Alzina now coming towards the finish line and perhaps not putting on a full-on sprint, which could be to her detriment. 11:38 is the time to beat. And she is going to get in ahead of Canada, but it also looks like the Latvian really was working hard as she falls to her knees in exhaustion. And that is your order, with Belgium, United States, Greenland, Moldova and Hungary all being lapped today. Therefore, Great Britain in 17th place, Kazakhstan, Latvia and Canada the last to finish. Your winners today: gold medal goes to Germany, Norway with your silver, and Italy with a surprise bronze, having earned it on the skis. Great day and a great race that only foreshadows another fantastic race that's going to come this afternoon with the men's youth 7-kilometer 7.5 kilometer relay. That's 3 legs of 2.5 kilometers. Sorry for the delay there. My screen was frozen. And now we take a look further down the order at some of those lapped teams. And 5 penalty loops for Canada, of which I suspect they only did 4 of, and then received a 2-minute penalty. But that is not confirmed and won't be until the unofficial results are published, which will happen very soon. Your winners for today, Germany, started with Melina Gaup skiing rapidly and then taken home by Gusling, handed over to Sigmund for the victory. Skog of Norway had the opportunity, had the ski speed, but failed to bring it together on the shooting range and not closing that gap to the extent that was required of them. A little bit of difficulty with the spare rounds for Norway, and look at that round, that last hit there from Lena Sigmund of Germany trickled down as the edge shot saw the metal target fall so slowly, and relief there from the Norwegians as Ida Björg and Trondrud embrace, knowing that their skier Skog was likely to outski the others for silver. But what was definitely a plot twist from my perspective was that Carlotta Gutterlo of Italy was able to bring it home for the bronze, with Gia Gondolo taking out leg 2 for Italy, and Neel Mariotti Cavanet of Italy taking out leg 1. It's another medal for the Italians, and we're soon to have the medal ceremony. But please do join us again for the youth men's relay this afternoon. It's going to be dramatic. Actually now, Germany going ahead of Norway on the medal leaderboard.
Congratulations, Lena, for winning the gold medal together with your team in the relay at the Youth World Championships. How does it feel for you?
Thank you. I'm really happy about it. I never could expect to win the relay, and the track was really hard, but at the shooting range I could almost had a clear shooting.
Let's talk about the last shooting. It was so close with the Norwegian Martine. What do you feel?
I tried to be just at myself and had a clear shooting, and yeah, it worked.
Yeah, you did an amazing job.
Thank you.
She did an amazing job indeed, and now the overall medal standings for the youth category. France have come away with the most medals, 9 in total, 3 of each shade. And in second place, Germany, now just opposing Norway on this last race, and this race alone, putting the Norwegians down into third place. Both nations having won 2 golds, but 2 silvers for Germany is better than Norway's 1 silver and 1 bronze. The Junior Women's Nation Cup points unaffected by the results here, but France at the lead with 4,327 points. Norway nowhere to be seen. They don't attend the IBU Junior Cup. And it comes as quick as it goes, these graphics. So I won't give you any more details on the leaders there, but as for the overall medals, fascinating now to see Germany climbing even higher. And on the overall medal standings, we actually now have Norway are the leaders. That's in part due to their success at the junior level. France are in second place, and Germany are in third place. But would you have it, France, with 14 medals at this championship, actually have more medals than the next 3 nations combined, with Sweden, Germany, and Norway. That's incredible. Norway winning 7, Germany with 4 in total, and Sweden with 2. Germany, however, winning 3 gold medals, just putting them 1 gold medal away from France. So Tomac has just given the brief to those who are about to receive a medal for their success today for the youth women's 3x 6 kilometer relay competition at this Youth World Championships, the second last Youth World Championships ever to be hosted, with it ceasing to exist in 2027. Norway were your favourites today, as you can see by the numbers on their bibs. Germany were seeded 5th after their results from last season's Youth World Championships. The Italians were dubbed for 2nd, a position I was not anticipating them to maintain, or at least to the degree they did. They got the bronze today.
The prize ceremony for the youth women 3x6 kilometer relay. Medals will be awarded by IBU board member Mr. Tore Bøygard from Norway, accompanied by Martin Olsson, chairman of the organizing committee. 3rd place and winners of the bronze medal. Team Italy.
In case not easily audible from the announcer, the winners of the bronze medal go to Niall Mariatti Cavanet, to Gia Gondolo and Carlotta Guatero, who are now bronze medalists, following very much in the footsteps of their silver medalist counterparts last year at Otapa. Otapa being one of the greatest
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
and actually the Italians putting their best leg first really gambled, and the gamble paid off. Sara Tronrud, Bjørgeide and Martina Skog of Norway are your silver medalists today. A demotion from last year. Demotion from last year, just as it was for the Italians. But a promotion all the way from 5th place last year to 1st place this year for Germany, the team about to come with Melina Gaut and Sydney Busling and Lena Siegmund. But the Norwegians having to contend with all manner of pressures. Struggling for Skog at the very end there to get that last round in, but she's had some really wonderful success.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1st place winners and the World Champions of Relay, Team Germany.
And the gold medalists. The cheer of excitement, the thrill, the novelty of the moment, combined with the endorphins of just having done brutal exercise. I mean it. It is horrendous. When you watch here from the screen, you think, you can push a little bit harder, get those extra seconds. Well, trust me, being out there, it hurts. And despite the pain, Melina Gaut of Germany, Sydney Busling and Lena Siegmund managed to secure themselves a victory today with wonderful shooting. Wonderful skiing and a good strategy. It seemed like they had discussed it in advance and just really raced fast from the gun, hurting their opponents on the track. The DJ at this medal ceremony always finding most entertaining songs. The unofficial results still not published, but we'll talk about that after the national anthem of Germany. There it is. Do join us this afternoon where we are going to be enjoying the Youth Men's 3x7.5 kilometer relay competition and all the excitement and action that will ensue. So be there for that, and be there tomorrow for the junior women and junior men's races as well. It's been a pleasure. I've been Scott Dixon, and I've very much enjoyed taking you through these races. Until the Youth Men's relay this afternoon, that's all from us today. Goodbye.